Hi guys, we're at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We're going to the belt.
Cái này bây giờ là bị lon của nó. If you want to come down here, I'll take your picture of Hanson. Wow.
I don't see first post. Declaration of Independence, born 1976. To fold Union 1946.
Washington, not the first president, right?
All hundreds.
I'm third grade.
How about this one? How about this one? Who's the most famous Pennsylvania founding father? He was a world-renowned scientist who
Benjamin
discovered
Franklin?
electricity.
John
Yes.
Adams.
Here. Now,
Listen.
you are going to go and visit Franklin Court, which is where Benjamin Franklin lived after you get done with the square. And you're going to go in that museum. It's an interactive museum. You could do a lot of things in it. You're going to find out that Benjamin Franklin did this, and Benjamin Franklin did that, and Benjamin Franklin did this. And it's all a lie. All those inventions, they were invented by his pet mouse, Amos. So you go on YouTube and type in Ben and Me and get the real story. Here.
Yes. Thank you.
Perfect. I'll see you right back
That's
here.
the cartoon that inspired me to do American history.
Yeah, say thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, it's a cartoon.
Yeah, but what else? Who's the other guy?
I gonna do the most.
Responsibility of preserving it for future generations. We ask that you not eat, drink, or chew gum inside. If you have food or beverage, please keep them covered while you're inside the building. If you have gum, you will notice a small plastic pail around the corner before you hit the ramp. Please deposit that gum inside that bucket.
Okay.
If you'd like, you can retrieve it at the end of the tour. There will be time for photographs. Just tell me how you want me to pose and we'll get it done. I would ask, however, that you silence your cell phones so as not to interfere with the talk, and also stay together as a group at all times, since we will not be the only group in the building. Should you need to leave the tour at any point, please do so out cradle of American liberty and the birthplace of our nation. The building was given the name Independence Hall during an 1824 visit by the Marquis de Lafayette, a French mercenary officer who fought in the War for American independence. Prior to that time, it was simply called the Pennsylvania State House, since Philadelphia was the capital of the colony and all three functions of colonial government took place inside. This is where the Pennsylvania Supreme Court met, Pennsylvania Assembly met in the room across the hall, and the governor and his provincial council met upstairs on the second floor. William Penn, the Quaker founder and first governor of Pennsylvania, wanted to establish a holy experiment in his New World colony. He wanted to bring together people of different religious and ethnic backgrounds to live in a spirit of peace and brotherly love with the Lenape Indians who already inhabited the region. This is why he called his capital city Philadelphia, the Greek derivation for city of brotherly love. Penn had great faith in the ability of men to govern themselves. So, in his 1701 Charter of Privileges, he made sure that all white Christian male property holders over the age of 21 had the right to vote and to hold political office. That might seem like a very, very small minority, but when you consider the abundance of land in colonial America, what it really meant is that 2 out of every 3 white Christian males enjoyed those privileges, as compared to 1 out of every 6 white Christian males in England. So it was exceptional. Now, prior to 1776, this was considered the king's courtroom, and all who entered were British subjects. If you found yourself standing where you are, you came as a spectator, since courtroom trials provided 18th century Americans with a wonderful form of entertainment. However, if you found yourself on this side of the railing, matters had to be taken much more seriously, because you were involved in the decision of a high crime, such as murder or treason. Especially if you were one of the royally appointed judges who presided over the hearings, a witness called to give testimony, a member of the prosecution or the defense argued the case, a member of the petty jury who rendered a verdict, and especially if you were the accused, made to stand trial in this prisoner's dock. What do you think? Do I look innocent or guilty?
Guilty.
Guilty. You cannot serve on my jury. Despite appearances which do suggest that the accused was guilty, under English common law, the accused was considered innocent until proven guilty. He also had the right to legal representation and to a trial by jury. And so it went. Pennsylvanians genuinely believed that the king and parliament respected and protected their rights under the English Constitution. That was until July 8th, 1776. On that day, after a public reading of the Declaration of Independence out on the square, a group of local militiamen called the Associators stormed into this chamber and tore down a coat of arms that hung above the judge's bench. No, it was not the Pennsylvania coat of arms you see hanging on the wall there today. That is original to the room from 1785. It was this coat of arms. Anyone like to take a guess? Yes. England. What was his name? King George III. Very good. Of Great Britain. I will give you a clue as to what the Associators did with this coat of arms. They did what any self-respecting Philadelphia Eagles fan would do to a New York Giants jersey. They burned it, yes. And with this act, the Associators committed treason, a crime against the state, punishable by hanging. Nor were they alone. 4 days earlier, in the room across the hall, 56 delegates constituting a Second Continental Congress voted on and adopted Thomas Jefferson's Declaration of Independence. A few weeks later, on August the 2nd, as they signed their name to that document, one of their numbers, Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania, reminded the others, "We must hang together on this matter of independence, or we will most assuredly hang separately." In order to understand the causes that compelled them to the separation, we must return to the original scene of the crime, the assembly room across the hall where our nation was. We are now standing in the assembly room. It was here during the summer of 1776 that our nation was born. It was here during the summer of 1787 that our federal constitution was drafted. No matter how many times the history of this ring is told, it never loses its special meaning for us as Americans, and often in spite of those visiting from other countries. That is why it is my privilege to share that with you this afternoon. By 1776, Americans had been discussing the fundamental principles of government in the press, in the pulpit, in their taverns, and in their homes, from New Hampshire to Georgia. As Englishmen, however, over the previous 10 years, they discovered just how wrong they were in that belief. In an attempt to control the colonial economy, the Parliament passed several measures severely restricting the ability of the colonies to conduct free trade, and they rebelled. What began as an economic grievance exploded into a political crisis as the colonists rallied behind the slogan, "No taxation without representation." Very good. And what they meant by that phrase was that as long as they, the colonists, did not enjoy actual voting representatives in Parliament, that body had no right to tax them. The most belligerent of the colonies was Massachusetts. Do we have anybody here from Massachusetts today? You behave yourself. In 1773, Parliament passed a tea tax that was very unpopular in Boston. In December of that year, a patriotic group called the Sons of Liberty disguised themselves as Mohawk Indians and boarded 3 vessels docked in Boston Harbor. Those vessels contained British East India Company tea. The Mohawks proceeded to break open 342 chests of that tea and dump it in the harbor. Parliament's response was swift and severe. In the early spring, 1774, passed a series of measures dubbed by the colonists the Intolerable Acts. These measures closed the port of Boston until the tea was paid for, shut down political assemblies, suspended due process of law, and made it legal for British soldiers to quarter the homes of private citizens without their consent. These actions were violations of the colonists' rights under the English Constitution. Massachusetts appealed to her sister colonies, saying, if this can happen in New England, it could happen anywhere along the eastern seaboard. And so a first grievances. These men did not want to separate from the British Empire, not in July of 1775. They simply wanted restored what was rightfully theirs, their liberties under the English Constitution. They saw Parliament as the enemy. They believed that Parliament had become corrupt by passing all of these restrictive measures, but they didn't fault the king. In fact, most of these men revered King George III, and they genuinely believed that he was going to resolve the conflict. But the American people weren't so sure. On the eve of the Revolution, there were 2.5 million inhabitants living along the eastern seaboard of the North American colonies. 500,000 of them were black slaves. Of the 2 million white inhabitants, 45% wanted independence from Great Britain, 20% wanted to remain in the Empire,
Here comes the chicken. I don't know.
Mày nói gì với mình để mình nói gì? Chị em hiểu ý chị mà em nói ảo chứ nó là chị Mai. Bé. Ba.
No tickets were required. For free.
Anh thấy rớt cái gì xuống, rớt cái bông. Là cái ông này là người rất là beo hả? Sao thế các bạn?
Powerful inscription as a symbol of their cause. An abolition.
It's a shared space. You can walk around, explore, and take pictures and ask questions. This is pretty quiet. On a busy day, that's pictures maybe in there.
Em đi xa rồi chị, em đi xa, đứng xa sao đi mọi người.
That is part of an 1800s century as the bell had already been drilled out. The holes are there to kind of prevent and what's funny is conservation at one point for about 10 years, there's a third hole. Why they happened? Why they removed it? Sir, please do not need to cross. Thank you.
Bé muốn ngồi đây không bé? Dạ không dám nhúc nhích sao con đau nè, con lẹ.
Ở đây có nhiều người già. Đây là phú của tương lai nha. Lại ăn. It's like the best hotel. Because it has free games.
Free games.
On the hotel, on the TV. First, you just press view more, and then it says free games. This is a chair. It's comfy. And we're you know where we're at?
This is just like a knockoff of Geography.
Philadelphia. This is a view of ours. We have a balcony basically. It's not that. We have 2 big beds.
That's not what a marinade is. You marinate it. Fudge. Can you say just
Chưa.